Welcome to another episode of the Pastor to Pioneer podcast. I'm here today with Adam Maw, and Adam is a former pastor in South Carolina, now in the Charleston area, and has made this transition from pastor to pioneer. And Adam and I, we got connected. Man, what's it been like a year ago?
It's been probably close to a year.
Yeah, just been spent a lot of time together, um, staying connected and just being able to be supportive of you on this journey. And so I'm really grateful, man, that you would be willing to be on the podcast today and share your journey. So thanks for being here, Adam.
No, thank you, Britton. It's a real privilege to get to be here. So looking forward to it.
Well, man, you are in a very beautiful part of the country, Charleston, South Carolina. When my family were on our road trip, my kids still say Charleston was one of their favorite stops. I mean, they have a lot of favorite stops, but that was definitely one of the favorite stops. Just beautiful space, man.
Yeah, we kind of call it my wife and I call it our little slice of heaven on earth here when we go out to the beach and just be able to kind of get away and unplug for a little bit. So definitely, definitely good little area.
Awesome. Well, let's start just briefly with a little bit of your background. How did you come to know the Lord?
So growing up, I actually it was we lived in our great grandmother's home right next to the church that I grew up in. So I couldn't miss church if I wanted to. Um, my great grandmother had a great influence on me early on in my childhood, and so just went to grew up in the church, and it was at 15 years old that I came to know the Lord. And so again, I say next to that's first, and then of course that's the first best decision of my life, and then of course my wife being second there. So
Awesome. So obviously you grew up going to church all the time.
mhm.
Was being a pastor then something that was on your mind from a young age? Like how did you decide to become a pastor?
Yeah, I will say my great grandmother. It was kind of out of the blue when I was middle school. Comes up and says, Adam, I believe the Lord will call you to pastor one day and be a preacher. And I'm like, no, I don't know about that. And I thought, yeah, not, no, not me, not this boy. And so in, was it '02? About the time I graduated high school, of course, it came back. And then she came to me again, revisited the idea, and so we prayed about it. And I began in 2009, actually, is when I began studies with Liberty University. So that's kind of where the journey started toward
Okay.
getting licensed and getting all that taken care of.
Man. So what did your first pastoral role look like?
So it actually officially did not come until 2017. Now, prior in '09, I served in some different roles from leading Sunday school and things like that, teaching small groups. And then in 2017, when I actually met my wife at church, um, that she was in the Nazarene church, and of course I grew up originally in the Baptist church, and so I was told by our pastor there in the Nazarene church that you should get locally licensed. And so I inquired a little bit more about it and enrolled, because I had had a gap in between that time. I took some classes there, as I said, with Liberty, then into the Nazarene Bible College online. And so that was where I got my first local license. And so a little background of kind of the area and focus of ministry that I was in. I loved working with a lot of the senior adults. My mom, she actually worked in the retirement home.
Oh, no
And
kidding.
so, yeah, I was like, I found it so easy to connect with those people that were there. I mean, man, they were just looking for someone to talk to, and just they just needed an ear to listen. And so that's kind of how the Lord began to show me, that direction with the older folks. and um, I actually was appointed the pastor of the ministry, which was Haywood Estates, was the name of the place. It was across the street from our church, and that was once a week. And I was actually mentored by a gentleman there in our church.
Hmm.
And so eventually I'm going to give you the opportunity to preach. And well, they knew Alan Harkey, but they didn't know Adam Maw. I mean, I was thinking, man, how are they're going to take on this guy here? And so that was my first assignment in the ministry, in the church.
Cool. Is hanging out at the retirement community on a regular basis. So you're there once a week, but are you doing stuff with them throughout the rest of the week, or was it predominantly just a once a week kind of deal?
Well, it started out as a once a week ministry. And so Alan, who mentored me in that time, he actually stepped back for health reasons. And eventually I was officially appointed as Pastor Adam to that ministry. And it started once a week. So we kind of stuck with that pattern. And of course, some of them were like, well, so many churches are going away from Wednesday night services now. And so I couldn't say no to them when they asked. So naturally, I was like, okay, well, we'll do this. And so it was kind of a little less formal service during the week. It was just more talk, testimony, kind of see how we seen God work in the week. And we would do some hymns and sing along. And so a little less formal than Sunday nights. So Sunday nights was more of a service, a message, some hymns, and it's always the funny part. I remember one of my first times up there speaking. I had a piece of chewing gum in my mouth, and I said, "I'm just going to keep it tucked away." And I, right in the middle of me starting to open the service up, one of the ladies there in the congregation's like, "You probably need to spit the chewing gum out right in the middle." And I was like, oh my gosh. So what do? I swallow it, and I just like, okay, just kept going, never missed a beat. So some great
What to
times.
think, right?
Right, right.
Oh my gosh. So that was your primary role, that was the only church you served at, if I remember correctly. Is that right? Or did you do something else after that?
So that was my primary ministry. So that being 2017, and it was 2023 when we actually came here from the upstate in Greenville to Charleston. But it was kind of in that last couple of years in Greenville, that was where we kind of began to notice a little bit of a transition, like the Lord's taking us somewhere in another
Yeah.
direction, just didn't know
Yeah.
where.
So you guys were in a unique situation because you're a pastor there at the church, but your wife is also on staff. She's running children's ministry. So you're both on the inside, as
Hmm.
it was. What was it that started causing you guys to ask some questions and to wonder, is this for us, or is there another way of doing this? What were some of those things that were starting to bubble up in your conversations?
Well, truthfully, a lot of it come down to just us having time together. And because I mean, I was working a full-time job in addition to being there at the church, then twice a week, my wife being children's ministry director. So it was 7 days a week. Looking back, I mean, I there was, let's say, there's no real big regrets about it, but I mean, it's just we began to realize that there was just so much time being consumed in doing it so much.
Yeah.
And so as I began to just kind of look, we were looking at that said, well, where do we make these changes? So the scheduling was always a real big thing.
So what made you decide, because you did more than simply step away from your roles. You've made much more major transitions to not just jumping into prevailing church. Or how do you call it? You call it a stick church? What's the word that you call brick and mortar church?
I just said the brick and mortar or the building,
Yeah,
so
I forget you're always the thing I appreciate about you, you're always so precise with your words when you're talking about the church,
hmm
because you're always like, no, the church is not a building, the church is
yeah,
people. So
it's
you're always
us.
very precise about that. So, but what led you to start thinking about a much more major shift of changing how you did ministry, changing how you did church, changing all of that? Like what caused that major shift?
So believe it or not, I would even say my job then, and prior to moving from Greenville to Charleston, I was actually on the road in my role at work in Greenville. I transitioned into an administrative role, and that was kind of that moment too that I began to realize, like, man, I'm not out here with the people anymore. I mean, I get to talk on the phone with customers, but I was like, man, I want to be out there in the field, in the
Yeah.
mission field, to see
Yes.
the people. And and so of course that I didn't go back on the road until we moved to Charleston in 23. And so it was really, that was that pivot point that I was like, wait a minute, this is being the church. This is what it's about right here, is not in a building.
Wow.
It's because I mean, just to be honest, it's like you feel like you're contained just to one day a week inside of four walls, and there's just so much being held back. And as I'm back out in the field down here in Charleston, man, through almost 3 years, I could say in the roughly almost 4 or 5 years prior to that, being in Greenville, I feel like I've been so much more effective outside the walls of the building. Now,
What?
don't take me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I know
Yeah.
I will say there are campuses that are reaching into the community, but at the same time, I also feel like, man, this is just so much more effective.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. What is it that you do now for work?
So I am actually a route supervisor. So when we transitioned to Charleston, my wife and I would always come down so much during the summertime. And we said we'll get down here once we get to retirement, like a lot of people, and so when we got here, we knew God had we were following his call, not knowing really what the case was going to be. The short version is we said we were going to take a break, and we found ourselves almost not even 6 months into it. She was getting hired as a children's ministry director, and I was back into getting relicensed again in the church, and it was just kind of a back to the grind. I mean, just to be honest,
Oh,
that's kind of the way it
totally.
felt.
Totally.
And I kind of pictured the Lord going, "Okay, that's okay," you know. He's crossing his arms. It's okay, but in my role as supervisor, I actually was hired in as just a driver. And so out on route, this was really in this first year that back in the field, I'm talking to customers, getting the opportunity to go and a gentleman I got to know, um, his wife had been diagnosed with cancer. And so just by listening to him share his story, he invited me in to come. I had prayed with him once. It was like a very just clear moment from the Spirit, Holy Spirit saying, "Hey, you need to pray with this guy." And I prayed with him there, and then that led to him saying, "Well, can you come inside and pray with my wife?" I'm like, "Well, we're really not supposed to go inside the home of our residents," but I was like, you know what? I'm doing this. I'm going with it. And so I go in and I pray with them. I come out blessed, needless to say, more so than, I don't know who was more blessed, them or me. I don't know. And so that same street, there was actually a gentleman there who whose brother was, he lost his brother there in Charleston, and of course it was some pretty tough circumstances there that was, and um, so I always seen him every week, had no idea of his story. I'd always throw my hand up to him and wave. Well, my supervisor comes to me and says, he tells me a little background of what happened with this guy's brother. Um, and so I was like, okay, well, that's just a challenge for me. Needless to say, over the course of almost that a year, that guy finally comes to me. And to give a little background, I mean, hey, he sees a white guy out here in the field and going, he just comes up to me and says, I guess you're not the typical white guy out here, but he comes up, shakes my hand, and we got to know each other now. So every week because race is that's one of the biggest things that
Mm,
we have in this culture that we're in
mm,
is black
mm,
versus white.
mm.
And now I I've even had a coworker tell me, man, you have a really sharp way of handling everybody. I'm like, hey, I'm just being Adam. That's all. I'm not trying to be anybody special here.
Yeah, yeah.
So the stories could go on and on. I mean, of what, like I said, these 3 years of what God's just
Just
doors.
for just for the clarification of our listeners, when you
Mhm.
say you're a route supervisor, you got a route with a truck. We're talking like it's trash truck, right?
So let's say the claw game that you play in the store. So I that is one of those trucks of the claw game on wheels. That's what I tell people,
Love
and
it.
that's what we pick up debris with.
So I think it just makes more sense to our listeners who are like, okay, so you are doing this route every week. You're seeing these same people every week, but you're not the typical, let's just get through this as fast as I can so I can get home.
Hmm.
You're looking for opportunities to engage with people, to minister to people, and you're taking those opportunities, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, because it helped shift my perspective when we moved again from I'm just going to work to no, I'm not going just to work. I'm going to work for the Lord. I'm going out here, Lord, give me that opportunity, because once you get a taste of one little scenario, whether it's praying with someone or just throwing a hand up to them and getting to know these people, man, I mean, you just it stirs your fire up. And so it's like, come on, Lord, just bring me that next one here. And there are those moments you go through where it's you use a dry spell, but man, they always come, as they say, the Lord's right on time. So um, those are just kind of some of those things that have happened again many times that the Lord's given me in these 3 years.
Okay, so now you've been in both worlds. You've been in now the marketplace, the workplace, and you've also been in professional ministry. What do you say to the person that's like, oh, I'm called into ministry. I gotta go become a pastor so that I can minister to people. I gotta quit my job. I gotta go to seminary so that I can go minister to people and serve the Lord. What's your perspective on that now that you've been in both worlds?
Well, I would not discourage anyone, because what I would tell them, follow where you feel the Lord is taking you. Um, but if I'm just going to be real and honest, I'd be like, don't go get yourself in debt in classes and everything else. It's so much simpler than that out there than to do. Because we think of ministry because it's ingrained into our mind that it's got to happen in a building. It's got to happen on Sunday. There's this list of things that's got to happen, and it is so much simpler than that.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think you're would you say you have more ministry opportunities in what you're doing now than when you were a pastor?
As like I was saying a second ago, I mean, I just feel in nearly 3 years, it's, well, how would I say, it's a freeing feeling because you're not restricted to a denominational set of rules, and listen, they're good, but there's just it's so much more. So it's definitely a feeling that's just, yes, there is more effective. The short and simple of it, yes, is way more effective those years even take from 2009 to around 2012. Then I had the gap there, and then 2017 to 23 when we moved to Charleston here. So you combine that, what, 7, 8 years maybe or whatever inside the church building to now being 3 years, man, so much more out there. And I think that now looking at the culture we're in,
Yeah.
people are less likely to come to a larger gathering. They're gonna feel more comfortable one on one out here in the field, because they're going to come in and they're going to hear Jesus being preached, but wait a minute, who is this Jesus guy you're talking about? So it just makes me think of a coworker that I've had that from the very beginning of time that told me, I don't want to hear none of this Jesus junk. This is a coworker now, and here we are 3 years later. When he tells me this, I'm like, okay, but just simply listening, get to know his story, tell me about his background, and now outside of work, I mean, we call, we talk, we even go and hang out together. So just one of the many things, again, God's doing.
Amazing. Yeah, I think it's really interesting if you would share a little bit more about your intentionality with your coworkers.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're seeing your coworkers as a mission field. What has that looked like in terms of the way that you've engaged your coworkers in Jesus stuff?
Again, listen to them. Actually, back when I first started in that first year, 2023, I then had a coworker who was also a pastor in the institutional church model, and he was, let's do a Bible study, let's do a devotion, and I'm like, okay, but at the same time, I was recognizing, let's not do a Bible study. Let's don't call it Bible study. Let's don't call it devotion, because that's going to turn people away. Because our chief mechanic, this driver that I was just talking about, that's going to shut them down. Okay, I mean, they hear Jesus, they hear God. Y'all are one of those. So we had to change the approach to how we do things. And so the guy that said he doesn't want to hear the Jesus stuff from the very beginning, let me tell you, it's not been an easy thing. I've told him, I said, if at work, I said, if anything, I have earned the right to strangle this guy when I want to, but then I can turn around and love him all in the same, because that's how it's been. That's what taught Adam about, okay, this discipleship, this reaching others for Jesus it's going to require some elbow grease.
Yeah.
And you get in the building on Sunday, you're bringing a lot of times people that have already been, they've already come to a relationship with Christ. It's people outside. So I changed that approach from, do you know Jesus is your Lord and Savior, to, hey, I'm Adam. Or he tells me, I don't want to hear this Jesus stuff. And I'm just like, okay, cool. No problem. So tell me about you, man. And that's how, just riding with the guy in the beginning, listening to him just over this course of time, getting to hear his story, hear his background. And it's still a work in progress. And so God's still working, but he has started, it's taken that almost 3 years now. I've gotten to that point with him where every once in a while he'll start asking questions. And a lot of times it comes after work when he calls me. And so I'm like, oh man, this guy, what's he want? I'm off work. But there it is. It's what God's called us to. And so I think that approach, again, it's the approach, how we do things.
Wow. I just love the way that you lead with love. You just lead with caring for people and see where those conversations go, and building trust. I love the way you said it. Like, yeah, build the ability to strangle them, and also love them well too. I think that's incredible.
Yep.
So you said you were starting out. There was a kind of a Bible study going on. What is that looking like now? Is it a Bible study still? Is it something you're leading? Is it what is that looking like?
So that's another thing. You said that word lead. That's another change of kind of things I look at there is we're all leaders. We are all leaders, and not just appointed to one person on a stage. So we have actually changed around our format, if you want to call it that, to where it's just a very non-formal kind of get together. It was just once a week, but the Lord has led us to meet daily
Wow.
and just pray together. Because I mean, if we look around what's going on in the world, it's every day,
Yeah,
and we
man.
need that. So we just talk. We kind of stuck to our Wednesday, where we will get a little more in depth, share about what's going on in families, different things like that. And I mean, just about every day, we're call each other throughout the day that, hey man, let me tell you that, got the chance to pray with a customer, or how a customer encouraged me, one of us. And so that's that's what helps get us through the grind of the day. And so we rely on one another, and just lean on each other in growing. And when we talk about accountability, some would say you're running from accountability, but at the end of the day, our accountability is to Jesus. It's not to uh, a building, a denomination. So we lean in each other into that. And I will even say my coworker that um, has helped humble me as a
Mm,
follower of Jesus, because when he challenges me, when he asks me those questions, about, or even coming up from the very beginning, I don't want to hear this Jesus stuff, because I'm still sitting in that mode of, okay, I know God said there's something different here, but you still got the ways that you've been, taught all the years of going, well, wait a minute. Now don't knock on this Jesus here. Uh, and so instead of getting in defense mode, you learn to be a better listener. And that's certainly
yeah.
what's taught me.
Amazing. So obviously, work has become a place of ministry for you uh, immensely. What does the church piece look like? Because you and your wife, right, have stepped away from those roles. You got into it initially back when you moved. Like, this is what you do. You felt like it was a grind. What what made you decide to step out of that? And what does church look like now?
It's it's an everyday, because again, going back to just one day a week. Um, so I think of, how my wife has told me that she doesn't feel that she's outgoing as I am. I will say that she's been driving Uber here in Charleston, and so since she's a little social butterfly. I don't let her tell her you're not fooling anybody. So I see her now doing Uber, and I hear more stories about her sharing things that, hey Adam, I had this conversation with a passenger, or there's so we share stories about, well, how was your day? Well, I had a chance to talk with a customer at work, or she had a passenger she picked up. So again, that's being the church, not
Yeah,
going to church, because
yeah, yeah. I love that. Now, you and I were talking just the other week about an idea that you're kicking around with another friend of yours who
Mhm.
is uh, also formerly a pastor, about kind of doing an online regular gathering together. Tell me more about that. What you're thinking in that regard?
Yeah, so we've talked about the idea of gathering once a month in a Zoom call, and then once a month in person, because it's
Mm,
always better in person.
yeah,
But
because
look at
how far away do you guys live from each other?
we're about 2 hours away. And they prefer to come to Charleston. They always say, "Well, no, we'll come to Charleston up there." Of course, So, but we talked about focusing on, like, when it comes to, okay, we're in Charleston, they're here in Hartsville, so let's encourage one another, and even I'll say Brian, is to mention the idea that, okay, our conversations, how have we seen the Lord work in these, in this time? So we get that online, we talk about it, we share it, and we take it back to the communities that we're in, so that we can kind of focus around where we are, because it's easy to stay within your little group, stay within your circle. So we're looking at how can we encourage one another to reach others where the Lord has us, whether it be us being here in Charleston, them in Hartsville, things like that. So, and it's very fresh, very,
Love it.
idea that we've talked about. So, but just following what the Lord wants us to do and looking forward to seeing how He's going to work in it.
You guys are just gonna have to work around your cruising schedule and Brian and his wife's cruising schedule, since you guys are always hitting the cruises. It's you gotta line those dates up just right.
That's right. That's right. Well, no, for sure, because that's another thing, and just brings another idea, this happening that last October, my wife and I went on a cruise, and we met a couple. They live in Jacksonville, so they're about 3 hours from here down in Florida, and we stayed. We made best friends with them. Yes, cruising brings everybody together, and we just stayed in touch with them, built a friendship with them. They talk. They want to come here to Charleston and visit, and of course, I've got family in Jacksonville, and so I was like, "Hey, I don't need a reason let's just hop in the car. Let's drive to Jacksonville and go down." So that's another door the Lord's opened on a cruise, of all things, and so that kind of come back to where Brian and I discussed that. We go to get on a cruise, and we're so focused on ourselves, of unplugging, getting away from reality. But it shows that, hey, even though I'm going on vacation, I'm still on the clock for God, so to say.
Mm.
I'm so again, it's you're looking for, Lord, just if there is someone here that you want me to see on this cruise or whatever the case, Lord, I'm here. And so that being that opportunity with this couple that we met from Jacksonville here back in October.
I love it, man. It's just so fun to hear how your life is ministry. Your life is always paying attention to what Jesus is telling you to do and doing it. I mean, it's really a lot like the way Jesus lived. He's always, as he's going about his day, whatever he's doing, he's listening and watching what's the Father doing, what's the Father saying, and just doing what he's telling him to do. And it just is so much the way that you've embraced your life, and Angie's embraced her life, that way. And I just think it's so encouraging and refreshing to hear about what ministry, a life of ministry, not a job or a title or position, but a life of ministry looks like after being a pastor. And so I'm just always so encouraged when I talk to you. It's so fun because every time I'm on a call with you, it's more stories. It's like, oh man, this lady at work and this thing at work, and just as a woman needed help, and I was able to pray for her, and just I'm like, oh my gosh, just
Mm-hmm.
your intentionality of loving people well and ministering to them is such an inspiration for me, Adam. It really is. So keep doing it, man. Keep doing what you're doing.
Well, that's one thing that, and I appreciate that, but that gap was still there. I will say, I still love being around the older people,
Yeah.
and as I shared, with you last week on the phone, not once but twice, man, that two widows along the route, man, came along the way, and it was just another way that God was showing. I still love being around them. I'm not doing it within the prevailing model of the church now, but God was starting to fill me back up, being around them, just getting to listen to their story, get to know more about their background. The lady that was just getting rid of some of her husband's things after 20 years, she's finally finding that, to move forward and release those things to, I went and grabbed a couple of logs out of this lady's backyard because she couldn't move them. And she's just crying and hugging to me, like, I mean, it just meant the world to her. And to me, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm just doing my job, but I
Mm,
kind of got my own thing, okay, I'm glad I could do it. But that's ministry, man. That's
amen.
ministry.
Amen. Well, it's just it's such a great example of a lot of times I think as pastors we mix up our calling with our job, and it's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
but I got this calling, I got this identity God's given me, I got this purpose, and I can't leave this. And God's clearly gifted you and called you to care for older people, and you're just finding a way to do that no matter where you're at. And so it's like, no, it's not in the retirement home, but now it's on your trash route where the older folks need help and you're able to
Mm-hmm.
minister and care for them. I mean, what an incredible example of just faithfulness to the call of the Lord on your life that's not tied to a job position or
Mm-hmm.
location. It's fantastic.
Well, I think about this, and I'll be perfectly honest. When I first started in this line of work, going on 10 years ago or so now, that honestly is like, well, you're the trash guy, and I'm like, man, that's a little embarrassing, to think about that job title. And but I don't see it that way. Again, that's just that whole thought process has gone away to um I'm no longer, hey, I might be your trash guy or whatever the case is out here, but I just want to come, in my head, I just want to go out and love them and just try to make their day better. Because titles, man, don't mean nothing. I mean, I was told, I think I shared with you some time back that I was told when I was no longer going to renew my license, well, you lose the title of pastor and this and this. And I'm like, well, if I'm doing it for a title, then I'm doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be ugly about it, but I mean, I was like, hey, I'm not doing this for a title, and if I got to lose a title, and so be it. I'm okay with that.
That's tough. I think that's a tough thing for some of us to let go of, but I really appreciate your perspective on that. Um, I got a few more questions for you before I move away from the trash thing. This is the burning question I'm having right now is what is the most annoying thing that customers can put in their trash can for you as a guy picking up the trash?
Well, considering so like on so I am actually more of the household debris, I guess, with the claw truck, let's
Okay.
just say. So customers are supposed to separate things, yard debris, metal, and if you have furniture or anything, and if it's all combined together, it's like, oh man, we're not supposed to separate it, but I just take the time sometimes if I can do it and just do it then and there. And hey, guys, look, next time you got to have it separated because people sometimes get frustrated. Hey, what's happening here? Why can't you just do it in one pile? It all goes to the same place. Actually, no, it doesn't. So just a little secret about the
Oh,
business:
okay.
there, stuff goes to separate facilities.
Um, okay, here's my burning question. I know you're not on the trash side of it then, okay? But those trucks, maybe not, I don't know if this happens in your area, where they put the trash and recycling all in one. Does that actually get sorted out somewhere else, or does it actually all just go to the landfill?
So it there's probably 30% of it that may actually go into recycling because I can remember when we actually went away from doing any recycle pickup to just residential garbage and debris. Oh my gosh, you would not believe how many people lost their minds about that stuff. You don't care about the environment. You don't care about this. Hey, look, I'm sorry. I'm just one of the guys in the field out here. Here's our card. You can call the office, and I hope you have a fantastic day. So give it to the office. So yes, the majority does at the end of the day end up all at one big landfill out here.
That's what I was afraid I was going to hear. I
Yep.
knew it. That's always been a conspiracy theory of mine. I'm like, I don't know how much of this actually gets recycled. No,
Yep.
maybe a little
Yep.
bit, but okay. I didn't mean to go down too much of a rabbit trail. That's more my personal burning questions in my
Yeah.
heart.
Yeah.
To get back to your journey, I am curious though of how has this transition yes, the move, but more than the move to this different understanding of ministry, this different understanding of church. How has that impacted you, and how has that impacted your wife, just your relationship together?
Well, it's again when I say it's made a better listener of for both of us, because one, I'm back out in the field, so I'm an outside guy. I love being in in nature and the outdoors, and we get a lot of beautiful views in the neighborhoods that we service that are out on the water. And I will spend a lot of time just sitting, probably longer than I should, just taking in what God's created and listen to what He may have for me that day, or just to sit still and just say nothing at all, but just being in presence. And so that in turn brings a lot of, there's no rush like we were doing prior to moving here. So we've just been able to kind of slow that pace down, and the bonus is we get to go to the beach and relax a little bit, and just spend more quality time together as a couple.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it, man. Well, as we wrap up today, is there anything else on your mind that we didn't get to that you feel like would be an encouragement to our listeners, to those that are on this journey from pastor to pioneer? How might you encourage them on the journey?
Yeah. Well, I would say just remember that, again, this is just being upfront. Ministry is not on a stage or a building. There is I not saying I'm right, but I just feel like the Lord is calling us back to that simple model, and just be open. That if there's anything I can encourage anyone, just be open to what the Spirit's laying on your heart. Again, He may be still calling you to the prevailing model of the church, and if that's where He's, just be where He wants you. Don't be where you feel you need to be. And so just be faithful to Him. And it's not an easy journey. When it comes there's I would say probably one of the biggest things stepping away has been the loss of community, but you got to be more intentional in building.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not impossible, but I can promise you, God's going to bring some people along the way that you will never think of, where it may be that coworker you want to strangle 1 minute, or whatever the case may be. God's going to bring some people in your path, and He's gonna carry you through.
I love it, man. Thanks to you for your faithfulness on this journey, and just the shepherd heart that you carry. Um, you're always such an encouragement. Anytime I talk to you, you're such an encouragement. I know you're encouragement to those you connect with, and so I just am grateful that you take the time today to share your story, and what God's done the past couple of years. It's been a real encouragement today. So thanks, brother.
No, thank you. I really do appreciate the opportunity to get to share this with others. And hey, I'm just a ordinary guy out here. I mean, I'm not a preacher. I love my great grandma, but I'm just being who God's called. That's it. Very simple.
I love it. Way to go.